You've heard of the 5 love languages.
I have. And I love not only for marriages, but I mean, it's transcended everything. Parenting, friendship, everything.
And this guy invented it.
He did. I
want to be sure that I win in this conversation with you. So what's your love language?
Words of affirmation. So when it's through, tell me how great I did, okay?
Well, can I start now? I mean, really, what a nice laugh.
I'm feeling better already.
You know what we're about to do? We're about to get real. We're about to have conversations that Christians have behind closed doors, the scary ones, the ones that make you feel uncomfortable. That's where we're going. Why? Because we're family. Ustedes son mi familia.
So this is the Brian and Janelle podcast. She's Janelle, and I'm Brian. If you don't want to miss anything, all you have to do is hit the subscribe button to get a notification whenever we drop a new episode. This is the Brian and Janelle podcast. Well, here he is live on the show. He's a Moody Publishers author. He wrote the 5 love languages. That's right. He made them up.
Yeah.
He's the guy that invented this. Dr. Gary Chapman, good morning.
Hi, Brian. Good to be with you.
So you just cut out there for a second. Sorry if I jumped all over you. Look at me. I'm interrupting the 5 love languages guy.
Yeah. What are you doing?
What's your wife's love language?
Acts of service. That's why
you poor
when
man.
I left the house this morning, I took the trash out as I left.
Wow.
Isn't that one of the harder ones, though? Like, you really got to work for that one.
Well, some people do. It's not all that bad for me. My mother brought me up, and taught me how to wash dishes and vacuum floors, so it's not all that bad for me.
Brian?
But it is for people who didn't learn that.
Why do you find it hard, Brian?
Oh, I just got burned by the 5
Yes, you sure did.
So when you do acts of service, Dr. Chapman, so it's taking out the trash, or do you need to build something? I mean, how hard you got to work in terms of making your wife feel loved?
Well, a lot depends on what she desires you to do. She's the expert on herself, For my wife, nothing's more important than my vacuuming floors. Oh, man, that's really for her. But taking the trash out every day, comes in, sees the empty trash can, says, man, what a husband.
Aww.
Does she really she's like, ooh, you look handsome today because the trash went out.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
She says all kind of stuff. Yeah. She just fills my tank.
Wow, that's nice. Okay, so what about the couple that's never been through this kind of thinking about, because there are people who haven't heard of the 5 love languages. There are rocks that people live under. So why would you want to even think about this in a marriage relationship?
I think because our deepest emotional need is the need to feel loved by the significant people in our lives. And if you're married and if you feel loved by your spouse, life is beautiful.
Right.
If you don't feel loved, you get this sense they don't love me, wish they weren't married to me. Life can look pretty dark.
I have a question I've been wanting to ask you for years.
Uh-oh.
So once you figure out your spouse's love language, the way that, or even let's say yourself, the way that you receive love is not necessarily the way that you express it, because those could be different, right?
Yes. I think for 75% of the people, the language they speak most often is the one they want to receive. But for 25% of the people, they will speak one language more naturally, but they desire a different language. I think the reason for that is that many times they were taught how to speak a particular language growing up, so that's what they do.
Yeah.
For example, if the father taught the son, always give her gifts, son. Oh, women need gifts, give her gifts. Well, then he learned how to give gifts, but that's not what he wants. He's just doing what his father taught him to do. So I think for 25% of the people, they will speak one language most often and desire a different language.
But how do you look at your spouse and say, hi, I love you, been married to you for a long time, I don't feel loved by you? Because that's what you're saying if they're giving you their love language and you don't really need that.
Yeah. Well, that's why one of the reasons I suggest playing a little game in which you say to your spouse every 2 or 3 weeks, hey, honey, on a scale of 0 to 10, how full is your love tank? And if they say anything less than 10, you say, what could I do to help fill it today? So it just keeps it on the front burner, and it's a fun little thing. Imagine your spouse saying that to you. It's a fun little thing. But it keeps it on the front burner, and you know exactly what would make them feel loved on that particular day.
So now, has Dr. Gary Chapman ever gotten below a 10?
Not in a long time. Let's put it that way.
Oh.
In the early years,
Wow.
my tank was rusted in the early years, and so was my wife's. It took us a long time to get things together, but we've been married now for 58 years.
Oh, wow.
I got married when I was 9, okay?
Yes.
I actually remember hearing you speak once about your expectations when you got married. Wasn't it something like you were studying for your degree and you wanted her to watch you do that?
Yeah.
Wasn't that it?
Yeah, that was pretty much it. You know, I'm the center of everything here, woman. If I'm studying, just sit there and watch me.
Oh,
Boy, I'm not alone, I guess, in having that kind of
We're all
misconception.
we're all self-centered. Let's face it. It takes a change of heart. God has to change our heart to
Right.
give us a servant's heart, a loving heart. But that's what makes a marriage. Two people with a loving heart, wanting to help each other, wanting to, support each other. So, yeah.
As I'm trying to mature as a wife, I've recognized that he expresses his love in a way that is not my love language, but I'm trying to remind myself, okay, this is love to him. Am I going the right way, or should I push a little more and say, no, like, stop? That's not my thing.
I think you go both ways. I think you recognize, okay, he's speaking one of the languages,
Yeah.
and there's probably one, so I'm going to give him credit. He's loving me.
Right.
But on the other hand, I think you still need to talk with each other about, honey, here's my primary language. I really appreciate when you do that, but here's my primary language. And if you really want me to feel loved, this is the way you do it. Now, listen, we can't make our spouses love us in our love language,
Right.
okay?
Right.
We can give them information. It's up to them whether they choose to do it or not. But I think discussing it, when he really knows that that's what really makes you feel loved, there's a good chance he's going to make an effort to do that.
An effort, right? An effort, but it's always like
effort.
it more naturally comes out the other way.
Listen
So,
to you getting...
What's wrong?
You're getting personal marriage
I
counseling
know.
from Gary
he's
Chapman.
Exactly.
I have to charge you for this when it's over.
I know. I like the game he said. I love the game you said because it takes the intensity away from that conversation of like, I don't feel loved. And it makes it fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you or anyone starts saying that to their spouse after 2 or 3 inquiries, they'll start asking you that question. Well, what about you?
Right.
On a scale of 0 to 10, how much love do you feel? Now you've got it on the front burner.
Have you found that our love languages change with time?
I think, like many personality traits, the love language tends to stay with us for a lifetime.
Okay.
But having said that, I think there may be seasons of life or circumstances where another love language may jump to the top. For example, if a wife has 2 or 3 preschool children, acts of service may not be her primary love language, but during those years, it's probably going to jump up there because
Right.
she's so overwhelmed with her, all that is involved in that.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good point. And even physical touch may kind of wane for a while. My wife in those years would say, just whatever you do, don't touch me.
Oh, yes.
People have been touching me all day, hanging off of me.
Oh, yes.
So now,
That can go to the bottom.
since we have the Dr. Gary Chapman on the air, Ron, our faithful colleague here, and I have a theory we'd like to run past you. We think there's actually, in terms of men, a 6th love language. I don't even know if you're ready for this.
I'm ready.
And we'd be happy to write a book with you. I mean, if you like it. So we're convinced that men, there could be a 6th love language. And you have to let me explain. It's called the love language of insults. Now, what I mean is guys, when they love each other, love to rib each other all the time. And they're doing it out of love. So how do you evaluate that? Are you with me? Huh?
Yeah, I've heard people call that sarcasm.
Yeah, Brian.
But the 6th love language is sarcasm.
Is it?
And I say, I'm not sure that's true. With guys, yeah, I understand we rib each other. But I think with a spouse, and particularly most spouses, that's not going to be taken as love. So
Oh yeah,
that's
women
my
don't
opinion.
like that. I've discovered that the hard way with my wife, that women don't like that.
Usually it comes across in a negative way to them. So
Yeah, we got to work on that, I guess.
another guy told me that the 6th love language is chocolate.
Oh, yeah.
I said, well, if you buy it, it's a gift. If you made it, it's an act of service. So it's a dialect, not a
You should
language.
write a book just on that.
Love language of chocolate?
He has it figured out, Brian.
Wow. And might I add, Dr. Chapman, this really has been a wonderful conversation. You are so good on the radio.
Well, thank you.
Words of
Thank
affirmation. See,
Great job. You did a great job.
Well, it's been a blast hanging out with you here. Dr. Gary Chapman, author of The 5 Love Languages. God bless you, Dr. Chapman. Safe travels, okay?
Well, thank you, Brian Janelle. You guys keep up the good work.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, hold up. Where are you going? You know you like your time with us. You want more. So look down, hit that button right there, subscribe, and you'll get updated episodes, and then you can hang some more.
And guess what? You can help us. How? A 5-star rating. Not 4, 3, 2, 1. No, 5.
You can also hang with us live, weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. Interact with us, talk with us. Download the Moody Radio app.
Or at brianandjanelle.org.
And we don't put all this together all by ourselves. There's some great people behind all this production. We want to thank Ron Eastwood, Kelly Ryder, Paul Carter, Doug Hayner, and our awesome and fearless leader, Josue Villa.
And finally, this podcast is a production of Moody Radio in Cleveland, a ministry of Moody Bible Institute.
Well, Brian, that's a wrap.
Yep.